1. In the early 1980s, I was in the U.S. Air Force. My job title was Avionics Comm Nav Specialist. Translation: I fixed radios and navigation equipment on A-7D and, later, on A-10A aircraft. One of the A-7D aircraft that I was called on to fix had been struck by lightning on the tail. The upper 12 inches of this tail is the UHF radio antenna. It was totally destroyed by the lightning strike. My unit at the time was on temporary duty at Barbers Point Naval Air Station in Hawaii for a 30-day exercise. I was just a young pup at the time, 19 or 20 years old, I think, but I was the only comm nav guy that was on the temporary duty. So I need a new antenna to fix the jet and order one from our supply guy. They tell me that no antennas are available anywhere in the US Air Force. Okay. So what do, I ask? They tell me to order the next higher assembly, basically the tail of the aircraft. I argue for a while, trying to explain how stupid that is, but get nowhere. They actually kind of get nasty with me. At the time, the Cold War was going strong. Any aircraft that was not mission capable was a very bad thing. A grounded USAF jet on a TDY at a naval base was even worse. It had to be fixed yesterday. I call my boss back at our main base in Louisiana and explain the situation. He tells me to go ahead and follow the supply guy's recommendation, which I do. It couldn't have been more than 3 hours before I'm told to report to my maintenance officer, the officer in charge of aircraft maintenance, wanting to know if I had ordered an A-7D tail assembly. I have to say, as a young airman first class talking to a major, I was kinda scared. I explained the whole chain of events, omitting who I specifically spoke with at our home base. The major looked like he was going to explode in anger. I'm thinking, I'm a dead man. Instead, he busted out laughing. I mean, like laughing to the point he couldn't talk, laughing so hard that it looked like he was in pain, tears in his eyes, etc. After what seemed like forever, at least it seemed that way, he was able to actually speak again. The major told me that the way the supply group worked has always been a problem. What I did brought it all out in the open with all the attention it got. He actually thanked me. I got my antenna 2 days later. I think that this was the beginning of using a computer inventory system for the AF. It was a train wreck at first. Inventory was not in the database, users were not very well trained if at all, and there were just a bunch of crappy code and mistakes made. The person who insisted that I order the next higher assembly was just doing what his superior and/or computer was telling him. Whoever rolled out the system before it was ready got their ass reamed. A jet was grounded for close to 4 days for no reason other than no one could use common sense. This was a problem that had been brewing between supply and aircraft maintenance group for quite some time, as I understand. This event was just such a ridiculous event that the supply group had to scrap the computer system for a few years. Come to find out, the part was actually available in Hawaii. 2. I joined the army, and my first duty station was Okinawa, Japan. It's a beautiful island with awesome people and delicious food. I hated my unit. My first sergeant picked on me. My line was the worst, though. She wanted to give me non-judicial punishment and was trying to build a file. The problem is she had nothing on me. So she just badgered me and said all my work was awful while taking credit for all my work, if that makes sense. Like, I would count people on the island and their status, present for duty, temporary duty, sick leave, regular leave, pass, etc. She'd take credit for compiling the report by having me send it to her to send to our higher echelon in Hawaii. If someone needed a list, say for everyone with blue eyes, I could run a query in a system and get that list. I was a master of many aspects, and she took all my credit for me taking the time to learn my job properly. If someone needed anything on their record, I would update it. If they needed a file on permanent record, I uploaded it. When the commander needed to know who was coming to the island and who was leaving, I made that list every month. When it was my time to leave, they asked me where I wanted my farewell lunch. I said I didn't want a lunch nor a ward. I was leaving one morning to go change after we worked out, and my platoon sergeant asked me what I was doing for my farewell. I said I'm not doing shit. He went to my supervisor and complained. I was then called into his office. There was my platoon sergeant, my supervisor, and her supervisor. He said, "What did you say this morning?" I said something like I'm not doing anything for my farewell. He said, "No, I want the exact words." They were going to give me non-judicial punishment for not wanting a farewell. My commander, who signs the paperwork suggesting punishment, said hell no. Because I was leaving in 2 weeks, it made no sense. Non-judicial punishment is one of 4 things up to doing a 4 loss of rank. Taking pay, restricted to base up to 45 days, and extra duty for up to 45 days. It made no sense, honestly, to put in the paperwork on a departing soldier. They forced me to choose a restaurant and put in for the lowest award. Army Achievement Medal worth 5 promotion points. The base command Sergeant Major's policy was no one left without anything lower than an Army Commendation Medal worth 10 promotion points. So I chose the most expensive restaurant. A few people showed up and they presented my award. They asked me for a speech and I said, "Remarks complete," and then walked back to my seat. Someone said, "Damn, Sergeant has nothing to say, she must be sick." My officer in command of my area said she'd pay for my lunch. I grabbed my baby from my lieutenant, and I left. I only let her hold my baby so I could be presented an award. I was not wanting anyone there to even touch my child, except the Filipino mafia, Filipino soldiers. There were a lot, and they called themselves a mafia. They taught me a lot of dirty Tagalog and some Bisayan. I took the award and walked into the commander's office and said, "It's clear I was given this because CSM Marshall wanted to know why I was leaving without an award. It's the lowest award you can give." He said, "You don't want your paperwork for your records?" I said, "Nope." So I bought a beeping device. It made a few beeping sounds every few minutes. I went into my office early one morning, climbed on top of the filing cabinets, and tossed it over the wall to her office about 3 days before I left. I sat there and listened to those beeps with joy. Another troop in my office kept saying, "What the fuck is that beeping?" I just soaked it in. She had to listen to it until the battery died or she was stationed back to the US. She should have let me leave silently. 3. I'm naming the company name because I've had many issues with them and everyone should be warned. So, I have to say this first. Beware of working for the delivery service Shipped. Today I picked up an order for delivery. It had gone promo, money added on Shipped. It was for delivery in a town that is 15 minutes from the store of purchase. Alright, not too bad for $16, especially since I live within 10 minutes of the town I was delivering to. I take it. I go to the store, receive the groceries, and I'm on my merry way. I sent a text to the customer that I'm on my way and will reach them before time. No response, so I give a quick call. It does a weird thing and ends. Doesn't even go to voicemail. Whatever. I send them a text, get to the house, knock on the door, no answer. I leave the bag outside the door and walk away, make it to my car, start said car. Woman pokes her head out of the porch door, and I'm about to leave. "You were very lovely, woman on the porch. Thank you for your kindness." Waves me down, looking highly confused. So I unfortunately stop the car and get out. Woman asks, "What is this?" "Why, your order, ma'am," I say, looking all happy. I didn't order anything. Oh no. Did anyone else in the house? Nope. Oh, no. So there is a wrong address on the delivery. I've never dealt with this before. And I have to leave to catch a movie with friends in 30 minutes. Cue me going door to door at each house on that small street while reaching out to Shipped support and while trying to call the customer again. Does the same weird thing with the phone. Give up on that, proceed to knock on doors. Nope, nobody's all right. Shipped suggestion. "Just drive back and return it." No, Shipped, I'm a delivery contractor. I'm not a volunteer, nor am I a charity. I am hired by you to fulfill deliveries. As far as I am concerned, I have delivered to the address on file. I am not reaching into my bank account to correct someone else's mistake. For the total extra 30-minute round trip, I'll need $10 on top of the initial pay. Thanks gas for being so expensive. No, they say, we'll give you $8.10. No, I say, I have plans in now 10, what should have been 30, mind you, minutes, that I will now miss. 8:10 will not cover the gas and wear and tear for the extra 30 minutes. I will need no less than $10, or I will leave them on the curb of the noted delivery address, 580 Blanking Street in Dykoff. We'll give you $5, and can't do any more than that, they say. Wait, I say, $5 on top of the additional 8:10? To make 13.10 on top of what I'm being paid? Or just 5? I want everything in writing specifically because I knew Shipt was going to do exactly what they did next. Oh yes, 13.10, but we can't do any more, they say. Fine, I'm returning it to the store now, I say. Go to the store, do the whole return process, get in contact with Shipt as they directed me to with the request information. Get a message on my phone from Shipt to the effect of, your order has been cancelled and $22.80 issued to your account. What? I contact Shipt. Say I'm confused. Say it looks as though they were only giving me $5 on top of the original order payment when they said I would be compensated $13.10. I was told, oh, we won't give you any more than 5. But you already said, is there someone else I can speak to? Nope, 5, take it or leave it. Alright, fine, don't want to pay me the agreed upon wage. That's a breach of contract, meaning you never actually paid me for this return, so what did I do? I marched right back into the store, asked the worker who had taken the return what she had done with it, snatched the bag up, strode up to a manager, informed them of what happened, and told them since I wasn't being paid to return the groceries, I would be taking them back to the last place I was contracted and paid to deliver them, 580 Blanking Street, Dykoff. I told them if he wanted to be recompensated for the groceries, he should charge Shipt, as they were not willing to pay to have them returned. Message Shipt from my car informing them of this, and gave them 30 minutes, yep, my plan's definitely ruined, it's now 2 hours later, to rescind their rescission and pay me what they actually agreed and owed me. I had to reach out 2 separate times because the first girl, despite me being very polite, would not go to anyone else, such as management, to ask for an exception to this policy, considering they had literally told me they would pay me more. I actually had the gall to ask if I had taken the items I had returned, and all I had to say in response was, did you pay me to return them? The second girl was much more helpful, reached out to her team to see if anything could be done. Shipt still wouldn't be swayed, but I thanked her profusely for at least trying. So in the end, they said they wouldn't do any more than $5. I told them, all right, I reject that offer, just pay me for the original delivery, because $5.80 is where they'll be. You can pay another Shipt shopper $15 to come get them. Drove back, it was on my way home, dropped them off and left. I'm not a charity, I don't work for free, and I certainly don't pay to work. I'm going to be messaging ShopRite Corporate directly along with NJ Labor Board because this is not the first issue with wages I've had with Shipt, and honestly, ShopRite should seek compensation from them. Have fun paying for the more than $13.10 worth of groceries that are now rotting on the curb, Shipt. Now, I've had some people say that I'm being entitled. No, I'm not. It's not entitled to expect an agreed-upon wage. It is extortion to expect me to work for less than agreed. Imagine you accepted an order from a delivery service, fulfilled the obligation, and suddenly they decided to pay you less than half for that completed order. Or you're working a job and they suddenly cut your pay without notice, or agreed upon your part. As I explained to them, I never would have returned the groceries for $5 because it wasn't my mistake. Would have returned them no problem if it had been. And I would be paying to return them, plus the missed plans, plus the lost time, so no, I am in no way in the wrong, and I don't care what anyone who thinks otherwise has to say. 4. So I work in customer service in the automotive industry. As part of the services we offer guests, we perform a state-mandated car inspection so people can register their car with the state. It's a simple process that can take about 15 minutes if you book an appointment with us. But every month we get flooded with people who forgot to do the inspection on the last week of each month. It is a mad dash for last-minute appointments to fit people in before they're late. Now, we don't make money off this type of service. In fact, it's a state-set fee, and we realistically lose money doing these inspections on labor cost. I preface this to state that doing these inspections does not benefit my shop, but we do it because it helps our customers. Front door opens, and a male Karen comes in on Friday afternoon midday. This distinguished gentleman, Tim, walks in at around 1 p.m. in the afternoon and slaps his keys on the countertop, informing my front counter teammate that he needs an inspection now. Now understand that even though all our appointments were booked up days ago, we will still bend over backwards to help someone out. We totally get that things don't always go according to plan in life, so we do what we can to help. That is, as long as you're a nice person. When you start trying to dictate how we're going to help you, that does not fly at my store. Tim decided that today he was going to do exactly that. After we advised him, he can either wait almost 2 hours to try to work him into a slot, as we process our already scheduled appointments, or book an appointment for him next week. Tim let us know that booking an appointment the following week after the deadline was not an option for him. But he's got time now, so he's going to generously give us 2 hours of his time, and we need to figure out how to get him in. Cue malicious compliance. I stepped in to take over the conversation for my front counter staff, who have been dealing with him until now. Okay, sir, we're happy to help. I'll get your keys out to the technician. You just have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Immediately, I walked the keys out to my technician with explicit instructions. After explaining to my tech that Tim is acting like a dirty trash can full of poop, I gave the express instructions that we will not even touch his vehicle until 2 hours have passed. Mind you, as Tim sits in the lobby stewing, I have the pleasure of seeing several other customers who set their appointments days ahead of time. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and even a 7-minute inspection for an all-electric car. Things are flowing so smoothly for all of the appointments who did things the right way, and it's showing on Tim's face. After the first hour, Tim finally has the courage to speak up. I really appreciate y'all trying to work me in, but do you know how long it's going to be? No, Tim, you don't get to be nice now and try to expedite your vehicle. You don't get to be nasty to my staff and still get your way. Sorry, Tim, we're still trying to fit it in. Like I said, about 2 hours before we can see the truck. Mind you, the lobby's totally empty and all customers have already been serviced early. It's perfect. Fast forward another hour and his multiple attempts to make small talk to amend his horrible manners and treatment of one of my staffers. And his car is finally being brought into the shop bays. Then moments later, my technician walks into the lobby with a giddy smile. Boss, his truck needs wipers to pass inspection. They're torn and fill the vehicle. Passing on this wonderful news to Tim, he agrees to have the tech install some because he, of course, did not bring any of his own. At this point, I feel quite satisfied that Tim's learned his lesson, with a little additional help from the universe and him needing to also replace wiper blades. But apparently, the universe was not quite done teaching Tim a lesson. His car still failed the inspection. The last part of the test is run by a computer that reads the internal control modules of the car. It's a totally automated process that can't be tampered or affected by the inspector. The only thing that can interfere is if the car had the battery replaced, and those control modules have been reset. But that's exactly what Tim did. Hours before coming to see me, he replaced the battery and cleared those exact modules. So at the end of the day, Tim was his own worst enemy and failed his own car, having to book an appointment for the following week. But with a little help from the universe, he hopefully learned a very valuable lesson. That service workers are not your slaves. And always tip your waiters. 5. I worked for a high street retail chain that, in their infinite wisdom, ditched the store manager position and instead had 4 assistant managers running a store. This led to intensive workplace politics as the more competitive staff kept trying to pull stuff to make out that they were the big dog, despite the fact that they were all on the same level. Setting the scene. Our area manager asked each of us to produce a weekly rota so that between us we would have a month's worth of rotas prepared. The almost pedantic, least liked, and most determined to be the big dog assistant manager took this as their 9 billionth opportunity to try to pick apart our work to satisfy their superiority complex, and criticize our work to make out like they were managing the managers. Pretty sick of the constant unnecessary workplace politics, I decided to bring them down a peg or two. I found every excuse to delay producing my rota until I knew that everyone had finished doing theirs. The pedantic assistant manager badgered me all week, again trying to manage someone at the same level for extra superiority points. Cue the revenge. On the last day, before we were due to submit, All the assistant managers were in, so I took the opportunity to make my own rota from scratch. Having finished it, I saved it and then produced a second rota to set a trap for my micromanaging colleague. Basically, I copy and pasted their rota so it was an exact replica of theirs. I then let the two other fed-up assistant managers know what I've done so they can enjoy the imminent spectacle. That lunch, it came time for us to all compare rotas, with the usual predictability of having our rotas picked apart by our pettiest of colleagues. They went first to assert misplaced dominance. Everything seemed fine, so we moved on to the next one. The next rota came out, and although it was perfectly fine, it was criticized left, right, and center by the usual culprit. The next rota came out, and again, despite being a perfectly acceptable rota, needed tweaking, critiquing, and changing to meet our annoying colleagues' faux higher standards. Finally, we come to my rota. I open up the spreadsheet with the copied rota, and lo and behold, it's not good enough. After a solid 5 minutes of them criticizing their own rota, with my colleagues and I increasingly beaming as we feed off the pure schadenfreude energy, I explained that I found it interesting that there were so many mistakes with mine, when it is exactly the same as the first rota we looked at. This prompts our colleague to quickly flit back and forth between the two rotas, going an increasingly obvious shade of beetroot before then feigning outrage that I had copied their work, for which I'm going to get reported. At this point I highlight that won't be necessary as I bring up my real rota and then announce I'm going back to the shop floor. My two grinning colleagues do the same, leaving the final pretty assistant manager alone to fully soak in the petty revenge they have just been served with. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge as Ice Cream, episode 188. And thank you very much to everyone who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, if you could please press the like button and share the video around with friends and family, or anyone you like, really. Okay, I think it's November 2nd today. I think that's when I'm putting this one up. No, it's actually going up on November 1st. Okay. Right, let's see. Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is Halloween. It was only yesterday, so those of you who did dress up, what did you dress up as? I certainly hope you had a nice time, but if you're willing, please let us know what you dressed up as in a comment below. I look forward to reading them. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.